So one of our traditions here at the Grand Rally is a conversation that we've come to call Inside the Practice Room. On Thursday night, we kicked off the NAMM Show with the wonderful group OK Go. I don't know if you know those wonderful videos that they do. They were with us and they were delighted to help us celebrate music education and kick off the NAMM Show. And it was very funny on stage. The lead guitar player was saying, you know, most gigs that we do, they're looking up here, right? But this gig, all they do is look at our gear. Yeah. All they're looking at what kind of guitar, what kind of amps, what kind of pedals we're using. Because we are a community of music makers, people who are writing, performing, producing, recording, teaching. So this is a conversation that we've been lucky to have every year with someone who has really had a remarkable journey themselves in music, and we can learn so much from. There's a young woman who has been part of many of our lives, part of the soundtrack of our lives, that we're delighted to have. I think we'll recognize her, and the tune will play as she joins us. Please join me in welcoming Vanessa Carlton. There it is. Oh, it's lovely to meet you. I think they're going to
make my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass, and I'm homebound. Can you hear me okay?
I think so.
Yes.
We'll start with standing up because I have to do something official.
Oh, okay.
So nice to have you here.
Thank you.
We also wanted to give Vanessa something to take home to add to her trophy bin. Okay, and your certificate bin. You've been you were with us in Washington a few years ago, do you remember?
Yes.
We were celebrating music education, and you have been a music education ambassador in many, many forms and places, and you also have been outrageously generous with your time, and we'll talk a little about that within our conversation. But on behalf of all of us at NAMM and NAMM Foundation, and for really all of that generous work and for being the soundtrack of our lives, I'd love to give you the NAMM Foundation Support Music Award.
Oh, thank you so much.
Would you like to wear it?
Sure, great.
Oops.
It's like the
There you
Olympics.
go. Now you're official. The Olympics are next week, but this is really important, right?
The Olympics.
Right. So welcome to the NAMM Show, Vanessa.
Thank you. Thank
All the
you
way
so much
from-
for having me.
From Nashville. How many of you know that tune, right? We all know that tune. And I was kind of joking with someone on the emails. We were getting ready. They were exchanging emails with us. They said, "Oh, it's so great. You have Vanessa Carlton." And I said, "Yes, it's that great video where the piano escapes the garage."
Yes.
Right? It's just
So, yeah, that was a long time ago now, too.
18
It just will
years
never
ago.
die.
But isn't that good?
It's good. It's very good.
It's really good, right? Yeah, we all right there?
Yeah, we're good.
We're all bumping around on some stuff, right? So again, this is kind of a conversation about your life and your work and the things that you're doing and the things that you're working on and all the other parts of your life. So, we've had some other songwriters with us, and I always have to say, what is the spark for writing a song, and what is the process for writing?
Yeah.
I know some really fine published authors and writers in my life, and they are people that get up every day and they write.
Yeah.
You know, it's a practice, you know?
It's funny you said that. I was thinking about the different approaches that people have to their work and their art, and I'm actually not the type that does it every day. It's sort of this muse that comes and goes, and it's really scary when it leaves because I never know if I'm going to write another song. And then there's other artists that I know that have the practice, and you know, every morning or every night they sit and they write something. You know, I know a lot of actual writers that do that. Just if you're writing, you know, a story or something.
Did you try it that way? Did you try to say, well, I'm going to make from 9 until 11 every day? And did you try the more disciplined approach when the muse left the room and then?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, not sometimes, but you know, I used to be a ballet dancer as well. So ballet for me was always the daily practice, and music was music was my escape. And music can also be a form of escape, even if you're doing it in a daily approach. But it's just funny that you bring that up, because I've talked to other artists about their approach to writing, and really everyone has something different that works for them, and that's okay, you know.
How long did you do ballet, which is a very rudimentary practice, right? How long?
And ballet is such a discipline. I started dancing when I was, young, little, and then I stopped when I was 17. I moved to New York City to study at the School of American Ballet.
Serious. This
Yeah,
was a serious undertaking.
Yes, I wanted to, I had dreams of being in New York City Ballet, and then I started writing. I wrote my first song with lyrics when I was about 16. There was an old piano in the one of the kitchens in my dorm, and it was really old, amazing old piano.
Not well in tune,
it wasn't in tune. I love a slightly out of tune piano. The song was terrible, by the way.
It came from somewhere. Now we know, right? A kitchen.
Yeah, it was in a kitchen. And I had been writing earlier on just instrumental pieces, because I started playing the piano when I was young. My mom is a piano teacher, which is she's very happy that I'm here. Yeah. She's watching my 3-year-old though for me in Nashville, so she couldn't be here. So yeah.
Yeah, great. I always also, so your mom, did you start taking piano lessons with your mom?
Yeah.
Was it part of just like, okay, it's breakfast, it's lunch, now it's time to have a lesson, practice, right?
Well, being the child of the teacher is an interesting dynamic.
I had it myself. My mom tried to teach me piano, it didn't work very well.
Oh, okay.
Did it work for you?
Well, my mom had lollipops.
Oh.
She's very sneaky, and so she kind of had a Montessori approach to teaching piano. And she taught out of our home. My dad's a pilot, and my mom would teach piano at the house. And so all these kids would come over a couple of days a week, and the lollipops would go in the bowl, and every kid would have a chance to perform their work for her at the piano, and then we go to the table and do theory. And I kind of come in and out of class, and I was always the youngest. So, but she was wonderful because she did create an environment for me where I didn't feel like she was the mom. She was guiding my musical curiosity. So she did a good job with that.
So did you, in the piano training, did you do all the methods and the repertoire and the Mozarts and right? You did the layering of the material and.
Exactly. Right? She's a classical pianist, and so I learned a lot of like the canon, if you will, and figured out I had some funky fingering going on she let that go on a little too long probably, but and I read music, can write. I can't really write music out anymore very accurately, but all of it.
Yeah. I kind of don't believe that. You write enough to remember.
Well, I mean, just to write it out,
right. Well, that's writing it out, right?
It would be, that's a really impressive thing when people can do that, and I need to work on that.
Yeah.
Because I want to impress people with my secret skills. Yeah.
Right. When we were listening to this wonderful band warm-up, I don't know if you got to hear the band.
I heard all of it. And the Unbreakable song, and these kids, I'm like back there crying. They're amazing. Yeah. And all the parents came out. I mean, it's really extraordinary, and I'm so happy to be here today.
And we were, listening to the Manhattan School of Music ensemble, and they're young people, right? Mm-hmm. They're college-age kids, and see that they've got this core learning, right? I mean, you learn to read music. You learn, you could see a staff, you could audiate it, you could hear it inside a little bit, little side singing inside before you played it. And skills you still are wanting to work on. I mean, that's part of music learning, right? Early, and you had that early in your life. That was your foundation, right?
I think it's good to have a curriculum early on, but so you need like the foundation in whatever instruments you've chosen. And some people are self-taught, which also can work for some. But I do think a great teacher allows you, once they've given you your basics, they also make you feel free. So like, you'll get to this place where you're like, oh, I'm gonna just take some risks here, and that's when you start to really hone in on your taste, your own personal taste. And I think that's the tricky thing with every music teacher, because it's when do you let them go, and then when do you shape again and then let them go, you know?
And I think that's where our modern music curriculum in schools is sort of at a crossroads, you know, to have this good, solid training. Do you agree with me, some of you music teachers, right? To have this really, really good, solid training, but within the curriculum, we're building this creative release.
Yeah.
Be it through technology, songwriting courses. There's more songwriting courses in schools.
Amazing.
Which
yeah.
is really kind of amazing. And composition, and that there's this, like you said, you have to play within the tradition, sort of the canon, but then release with those skills to go out to another language.
Let them go, yeah.
Let them go. So the question, again, kind of for teachers is, how would you recommend someone go about teaching songwriting?
Teaching songwriting? Oh. Well,
I mean, you are a prolific songwriter, you know? I mean,
I don't know, you know, I think it's such a personal journey of discovery, songwriting. I think reading a lot of books about different topics, not, you know, I think any songwriter is pulling from so many different corners of their life. So, but I think one of the important things to learn, or something that's always been helpful to me, is, so I have an idea and I'm stuck and I just have like this little thing I've written, I don't know where to go from there. It's like, to put it on the back burner, it's okay, you take a break, and then don't be afraid to revisit it, look at it from a different angle, and see if you can find the opening to the next part. I don't know, you know, songwriting is a weird...
Can we quote?
There's no like, I mean, I actually did take a songwriting course at Columbia University. And actually, it was wonderful because I just loved the assignment of just having to write an instrumental piece that is in, you know, oh, you have to write a waltz now that's this long, or this, like, that was kind of fun. But again, it's very personal, so the teacher's like giving you assignments, but really letting you do your own thing.
So I have an idea that you don't have to respond to, but wouldn't it be kind of fun through the NAMM Foundation that we found a place for you to go and hang out and experiment with the idea of teaching songwriting?
I think that would be great. Yeah.
Anybody be interested in that? Yeah. Maybe a a 2-day residency somewhere?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, let you explore this, and then we'll keep talking about it, right?
Yeah, there's also a couple of other artists that I know that would be really great on like kind of a panel type, you know, we're all good at different things.
And go out and, you know, kind of work in a classroom with some teachers and help teachers understand it. You know, Adele, we kind of all know who Adele is a little bit, right? She has this, yeah, do that, right? She, in an interview that I read with her, she talked about going through very good rudimentary training and kind of liking music a little bit, right? And then she hit this moment where she was kind of in a 6-week sort of a songwriting course is in school, and then all of a sudden she goes, I never knew this was possible. I never knew that all of this, and knowing what a major third was and a minor third, I didn't know that next step, and look what's happened, and you too, right? I mean, you came, when you have the freedom to go, permission to go, the pathway to go, so.
Yeah, I think, is she talking about that moment of freedom in her work? Is that what she's talking about? Yeah.
And the door opened.
Yeah.
And the work, you can move down to the work.
Because then applying that and then turning it into a career that takes a lot of work. That's a different kind of work, yeah.
Well, speaking of which, you said that the tune that we heard when you came out of 1,000 Miles you've said that it came really early in your life, and kind of startled you maybe a little bit and set you, and then it took a while for you to come back to find the Vanessa Carlton voice, right?
Oh, you mean the crazy, you know, at the time the label was like, I was flying all over the world and in a different city every night, and you mean that? Yeah, that was, it's funny because...
And you were 20 or 21?
I was 20 when I was 21, maybe? Yeah. Yeah, that was really intense and not something that you necessarily sign up for. I think for everyone is different when it comes to commercial success and how they handle that, because it's like suddenly you become this product thing and you're being sold, and you have the manager, and it's like the boys club at the label, and it was, you know, for me, I was really young. I think when I left the major label system and started doing independent albums and collaborating with these artists that I always dreamt of working with, but the label at the time was like, well, you're this, so you have to go and work with this person. And I was just so kind of young and dumb that I was like, okay, I guess I'll try that, you know.
And you were restricted. You felt a little your creativity was somehow...
Yeah, but I did that to myself, I feel. And so then, yeah, that was, I have no regrets, and I'm proud of some of that stuff. I mean, it was a good video. But
well, and it's been licensed, right? It's a tune that's been used.
Can put my child through college.
I mean, this is, you know, you rode the wave, right? The wave came and
yeah.
You had the sense to ride it, and But I think again, sort of reflecting on what I've heard you share with others, is that you felt it came too soon in terms of the creative journey, and then you took kind of a reconsolidated, and now here you in this really, you've produced some really wonderful albums in the last few years. You're touring. You've got, you know, you have a 3-year-old. You're living in Nashville, Music City. So it's like, you know, a big chapter now, right?
I figured it out. You just got to get your, you know, everyone has their own pace of how they figure out the puzzle of their life, you know.
Right. Remember that, Gen Nexters, right? We've got all our college students here. You know, going out of the gate, and it's like, you know, everyone has to figure out the puzzle of their life.
Right? Yeah. You get better as you get older, I think, too.
Yeah. So, are you touring quite a bit?
So my husband is in a band called Deer Tick, which is a great rock and roll band.
Deer Ticks, yep.
And we have a rule where we never tour at the same time. So he's in Europe right now, and I'm supposed to be home, but my parents are helping me, and I'm only here for one night. So I will, you know. So and he just released his album. So we take turns with the album cycles, you know. And I'm just working on writing for a new project now. So
you're working on a new project.
Yeah.
New songs, a whole album of original material.
Yeah, my daughter Sydney hates most of my songs.
Oh.
There's a few that she's like, will let me maybe finish till the end playing in the living room, but like she comes up to me every time I play the piano and she's like, can we go in the car? Or, you know, it's just anything but me playing the piano. So I've had to figure out.
But it's really not about you. You've got to know
I don't know,
that,
but
right?
I've had to figure out as a new mom how to create that time that I used to just come naturally. I mean, I used to wake up at 11 a.m. and I know
we could do a support group for Vanessa, couldn't we? Okay, I could be on. You can tweet me and you can text me and I'll give you some.
You mean my support group?
Right. We can all give you some.
So I'm figuring that out, and that's like going back to your first question. I have had to kind of create set times that I can demo and and all that stuff.
Do you have a studio in your home? Is that
we do.
You
we
do.
Just converted our garage to a studio.
Yeah. Maybe you need to have like one of those kitty locks on the door.
Oh, we have a lock.
right. Good for you. Because I was listening on your earlier albums, and to produce 12, 14 songs that are all original, they're really wonderful. And
some are better than others.
Yeah, but I would expect you to say that. But there was again, listening to or reading other interviews, you said things did kind of come together on a couple of those albums, right? I mean, there's your voice, right? What you want to say and what you.
Yeah, I would say in 2011, when I left the major label system, like I call it the system, that was when it was like I felt as an artist I was able to create most authentic work, and part of that was also having such a clear concept of what I wanted the project to be. So that album was called Rabbits on the Run, and then I did an album called Liberman, and now I'm working on kind of my third album outside of the system. So, yeah.
Outside of the system. Outside of the system.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Sometimes women need to go outside of the system, right? To get done what we want to get done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for you. You've also are really been recognized and celebrated and thanked for your wonderful generosity. Most recently, after the hurricanes in Houston, you did something really extraordinary. You want to tell us about that?
Well, I took to Twitter. Sometimes I really get myself in trouble on Twitter, but in this case, I was able to make this incredible connection with a CNN reporter who had covered the story on this guy, Eric Harding, who has all these kids, and he has a video of him playing piano in like 3 feet of water in his living room. And my baby was napping, and I saw it on my phone. I just started crying, and I don't know, I used to not be much of a crier, but ever since I had my baby, it just comes.
We can do a support group for that too.
I need so many support groups. Right. So I was able to make contact with Eric, and I reached out to Yamaha, and they came to the plate in such a huge way too. But I was willing to just get him a piano replacement in whatever way I could. But Yamaha, I was able to connect them and replace that piano. I think a lot of the instruments, no, it's fine.
Lovely.
A lot
lovely.
of people don't, it's just so wonderful of, Charles, the man who just made that.
Chuck Surratt.
Chuck, who has, donated $500,000 in providing instruments. You don't realize in Houston, like, very few people have their instruments insured. I just thought there were so many instruments probably lost there. I wanted to try and, start that ball rolling on replacing some of that stuff. So.
And, after the hurricane, we were in touch with Texas Music Education Association, and there is online a crowdfunding website where you can drill down to individual schools and individual classrooms, and you can help them with xylophones, early learning materials, music materials. It's really amazing,
yeah.
how they've come together to try to, not forgetting that those classrooms and those people and over the years, NAMM's been involved with helping musicians sustain through, really tough times. New Orleans, Florida, other places.
Exactly.
So it's
Wonderful.
really important. Thank you for what you've done.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So you're here at the NAMM Show. You're living in Nashville. You're working on this project. Your husband's out on the road. He'll come back. You'll go back on the road. You'll go into the studio eventually. Can you give us, you're working on how many songs on this album? 12 songs?
I like a 10-song record.
10? Yeah. Does it have a theme that any sneak peeks at the theme of the?
Yeah, my last record was kind of more of a seance feeling album, like those meditative records that you listen to when you walk or you're on the subway or a bus. I wanted it to be an escape from reality and like feel like you're in some other dimension almost. That was really like the concept of it. And then, and also lyrics that felt good on the brain, And then this one is much more blown open. I want it to be, it's in the early stages, but I want it to be really cinematic. And also, in songs have like, verse, chorus, or verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then there's a bridge. There's always, in pop music or rock music, there's always, there's a traditional structure. And I love the idea of, because I'm not beholden to radio anymore. I do whatever I want. I can, I love the idea of like kind of following a traditional song structure and then going to some other place, maybe for way longer than, would normally be a bridge or whatever, but if it's building right and if it's a good enough instrumental or layering of whatever part, it will work, and then you come back to the traditional structure again. So that's kind of like that's what I want to pull off for this record. Yeah.
And when do we think we might see this record?
Probably never.
It's a cool idea, though.
I mean,
we're rooting for you, Vanessa, whatever.
Maybe end of next year or something.
Good things can take time, right?
Maybe spring.
Especially when
Of
there's
next year.
someone knocking on your piano every day. Mom, I want to go.
Yeah.
Right? Let's go to the park.
She's like, can we listen to Pogues? Like anything, but it's fine.
Right.
So I have to impress her. Once I get to the place where she stops doing that, maybe I'll have like a real keeper of a song.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll have us all on the edge of our seat waiting for that. And really, honestly, because I think you've really connected with all of us today.
Thank you so much.
Any final thoughts for us and the young musicians in the room and where life should take them?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm just so impressed with everyone that I saw play. And what I will say is trust your musical instincts. So if you want to go to if you want to make a choice with your voice or pick a note or go some direction in a song that's not typical, just try it, I think that's when you start following your own instincts, that's what makes you your most authentic self as an artist, and that's what people want to connect with. I think I learned in music over the years that we all just want to connect with each other. So people really aren't interested in a put-on or a style that's not your own. People want to connect with your most, your realist self. So, sorry, was not prepared for a speech, but that's basically my advice to all the kids.
But that was beautifully put. So we thank Vanessa Carlton for joining us, for being a light in our musical life, and for, as I said, being part of the song track of our lives.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love it.